Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, Junaid Islam and Dave Ackerman, to another discussion of interesting topics in the OODA network. Today, we want to talk about Ethereum specifically and cryptocurrency in general. But as always, we know these issues are converging with many other issues and relate to the broader world scene. So Junaid and Dave, before we get into it, I wanted to give you a quick recap of some of the things that we're seeing and have been tracking over the last week. For example, over the last few weeks at OODA, we have been reporting on China's moves, first verbally around Taiwan and then physically around Taiwan, encircling the island of Taiwan with warships and with aircraft and with missile launch closures, and China calling this strong punishment for Taiwan. We've also been tracking the many actions in and around Israel and Gaza. You may recall that just 2 weeks after the horrible 7 October attacks, we had our OODACon 2023. And in OODACon 2023, we were all told by an amazing expert in intelligence that Israel's greatest risk at that point is losing the information war. And I'm afraid, based on a lot of things we're seeing globally, Israel may, in fact, be at grave threat to losing the information war. Another topic we've been tracking for the last 2 weeks is the death of Iran's President Raisi, which is still echoing in Iranian propaganda and is causing many to question, why our ability to influence the media is not as quick and adroit and agile as Iran's. And also, many of us are questioning why institutions like the United States State Department, the United Nations, and even NATO have issued condolences to this butcher as if he were some sort of icon of the global community. In other news we're tracking, both Russia and China are making moves in space, demonstrating they have space weapons and an ability to maneuver satellites to interfere with other satellites. Another thing we're tracking is sabotage across Europe and potentially in the United States, raising fears that Russia has already ordered these kind of sabotage operations. So in many ways, it could be that Russia's attacks against Ukraine have already spread throughout Europe. In other news, we track cybersecurity. The cybersecurity never sleeps. The threat never sleeps. And also we track the compliance world. The SEC has fined the New York Stock Exchange for poor cybersecurity practices. Can you believe that? In 2024, after decades of warning, and the New York Stock Exchange itself still does not have a fundamental security program. AI continues to evolve, and we're tracking that and all the other technologies. And that leads us up to this world of dramatic change in blockchain and cryptocurrency. This could be the most impactful week that the cryptocurrency community has had since the publishing of Satoshi's white paper. It certainly seems that way, with so much news and a shift in the political landscape. And before asking you your views on this, Dave, because I know you track this very well, I wanted to say I saw many posts on social media saying the victories that we have seen this week are due to the lawyers in the cryptocurrency community. So deep respect to you and everybody else who's been putting a lot of hard thought into what should and should not happen in this space. And then one thesis I'd like to start off the discussion with, Dave. I put a post on the site saying Washington, D.C. could actually end up being the crypto capital of the world if we get this right. It seems like for a while there was a tiny core of bipartisan thinkers on the Hill who are working crypto, but really it was one party. But they have now gotten both parties supporting cryptocurrency, and we could see like a rush towards doing the right thing and protecting U.S. citizen personal property rights from both parties. So thoughts on any of that?
Oh, is that all?
Yeah.
So let's start with the why, right? Why is this happening now? And as much as I would love to take credit and have my kin to take credit, it is the perfect storm of a lot of things, in my opinion. So you have had people like myself, many lobbyists, lawyers, national security professionals, all trying to educate people on the Hill to explain the various different positives and negatives to not supporting some form of legislative framework. Now, I wish I could tell you that that was enough, but it's not. It's a combination of that, plus a lot of money has now been pumped into super PACs and lobby groups, such that there is an influence now. Crypto is now an election issue. Now you top that off with the perfect storm of presumptive candidate Donald Trump, the former president, now saying he is in favor of crypto, and a vote for him is a vote for crypto. And now all of a sudden, I think people started to realize that being obstructive for the sake of being obstructive in an election issue, when truthfully, there is a lot of uncertainty in the political landscape right now. It is not a foregone conclusion that the current president will be the next elected official. So, in what is already ramping up to be a very, very tumultuous political landscape, people are starting to rethink, do I want to be an obstructionist for the sake of being an obstructionist? And I think most Democrats and even some of the Republicans that were not necessarily crypto focused or blockchain focused, they were willing to support their colleagues in preventing what they thought would be bad legislation. However, they're probably unwilling to support their colleagues if it means they're going to get voted out of office. So I think all of that is starting to come to a head. And on top of that, you have people like us that are telling you this is a national security issue. This is, by avoiding, we cannot go around saying that the earth is what all of the celestial bodies revolve around the earth, because ultimately it may support your narrative, but it's just not true. So I appreciate the kudos. It has been a long, hard road from those and those that are far more involved than I am as well. But this has been a long time coming, and I genuinely think this is a step towards strengthening our country.
Great. Junaid, thoughts on the Ethereum changes and cryptocurrency changes we've seen this week?
Well, first, I agree with Dave 100%. This is a step in the right direction, that we are legitimizing digital currency. I mean, it's one of those things that was going to happen, needed to happen. The question to ask is it too little, too late? And what I mean by that is when, Russia attacked Ukraine, the United States launched comprehensive sanctions and locked down their money. And because of that, China was worried that, if and when it takes Taiwan, the U.S. will do the similar thing with the U.S. dollar it holds. So they had a meeting last summer, the BRICS conference in South Africa, which everybody knows, where they launched their digital currency initiative. And one of the publicly stated goals, which included Russia and China, but also included our allies in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia and the Emirates, to adopt a digital currency. So one of the reasons we have a bipartisan support for this legislation is as a countermeasure for the United States to launch effectively a basket of Ethereum tokens for different applications, which all makes sense. And to Dave's point, is something that needed to happen. The big issue is, will this be limited to the United States, or will this new American initiative for Ethereum for business, which is very specific, will that gain enough global momentum that it can be a counteract to the Chinese, digital currencies, which are actually pretty mature now and used in China as the, day-to-day standard, and which now they're pushing into Africa, if you follow the politics. So to Dave's point, and Dave said it right, I mean, this is a fantastic big step, but is it enough? I don't know. That's what we're going to see in the next few months and years.
Yeah, so let me consult my notes here and tell folks, in case they're not really tracking, what is Ethereum. I think Bitcoin is more widely known. It is a cryptocurrency backed by math in a distributed way that is going to endure, and a lot of people believe in it. I believe in it. And so Bitcoin has been called the analogy of a digital gold. Ethereum is something different. Ethereum is a platform. It is a platform for distributed computing, and to make that distributed computing platform work, it relies on a blockchain, and there's something called Ether, which is the token of the Ethereum blockchain, and it's built in a way where you can write smart contracts, including creating smart contracts that are tokens themselves or they're backup tokens. So that has kicked off just a whole bunch of innovation. One of the most exciting innovations, I think, has been what Larry Fink has been doing. Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, the largest institutional investor out there with 10 trillion assets under management. He has had a vision of using cryptocurrency type approaches to tokenize all securities. So you're able to have extreme transparency into everything happening with every security, every buy, sell, trade, every price change by tokenizing them. And they have already started this. BlackRock has worked with a company called Securitize to use the Ethereum approach to build their first tokenized securities. So this is what really excites me. And then to see the SEC say, okay, Ethereum is not a security, it's a commodity, therefore it can't have an ETF. These are all things moving in the right direction. And I think it's going to kick off a wave of innovation. But we started this conversation with a discussion of all the other things going on in the world, and it is all related, right? So let me ask both you guys your views of the interrelationship between geopolitics, like the Taiwan crisis right now, and the cryptocurrency world.
Well, for those of you who've been following the OODA Loop blogs, and I hope that anybody who watches that video signs up, because he should be reading OODA Loop and watching our videos. The OODA team for 2 years consistently has mentioned the naval blockade of Taiwan by China. So this is not a shock to the OODA community. It's something we have researched quite a bit. And last summer, they had a test run, as you know. And this summer, we're going to have even more ships. The reality is that any moment, China can just declare Taiwan under its jurisdiction. This whole notion that we have to wait to some magical date of 2030 or 2027 is absolutely false. I mean, China's ready to take it now, right? And they just have to say it's theirs. I think, going back to the discussion we just had, the United States will have no choice but to launch sanctions once China says Taiwan belongs to us. And here's the critical piece. This is without firing a shot. This is not, there's nothing kinetic here. It's just a blockade saying, the water, sea rights belong to us, and so does the air rights. So, you have to get a Chinese business visa to show up here. So we will launch sanctions, which we have to, we have no choice once they decide to just grab it. Once that happens, crypto and digital currency becomes one of the only ways that China can easily do business with Africa and the Middle East, which are their largest trading partners right now after the United States. So the question becomes, geopolitically, at what point are U.S. sanctions effective and it will actually hurt us? I mean, has the U.S. sanctions against Russia hurt Russia? It didn't seem to, but it did hurt us. So this is a very complicated space. And I think, to Dave's point and to your opening comments, crypto is definitely a component of global geopolitics. What we do not know at this stage is it something that America can harness and control, or will it be used against the American dollar? I mean, that is the fundamental issue that is weaving through us and is a part of the election dialogue right now, as Dave has mentioned.
Yeah, Dave, what are you seeing now in the landscape there?
So one of the reasons I was uncharacteristically quiet when you asked the question was because Junaid pretty much prognosticated 3/4 of what we're seeing right now a year ago, and then several times since then. So I want to take the end of his comments and then keep going from there. What on earth does an ETF have to do with geopolitics and the capture of Taiwan? And the short answer is, for many who aren't necessarily well versed in geopolitical chess, sanctions are annoying as they are effective. Okay, sanctions are typically deployed without a long-term strategy, and the reason is when you deploy sanctions against a country or an entity, the vast majority of the time, we at the United States do not give a path to the cure. We don't tell you, hey, listen, this is how you get them lifted. So in most cases, it is the threat of sanctions that is going to be the effective tool. Now, the only way the threat of sanctions carries any weight is if the target is adversely affected or grossly dependent on the US dollar, which thankfully for the last arguably 100 years, we have been able to say, yes, that is the case. Now enter the cryptocurrency and blockchain market. The SWIFT system right now was created on technology in the 70s, right? And hasn't really been updated since then. The SWIFT system is how banks around the world communicate. And it allows us to transfer money from the United States to pretty much any other country in the world. It's slow, it's expensive. Depending upon where you go, there could be anywhere from 3 to 12 different intermediaries. So for example, for every dollar that I or a friend would send to, let's say, family in Argentina, 60 cents of that actually makes it there. So now take the blockchain landscape and all of this technology that's rapidly developing. Now, we in the United States have been adverse to it. Reasonable minds could differ as to how adverse and the reasons behind it, but at the end of the day, we have not supported the development. Full stop. China, Russia, in some instances, North Korea and Africa have embraced it wholeheartedly. So in the event that they are capable of harnessing a built-in client base, which they already have from TikTok, from Weibo, from various other applications that are PRC influenced and or directly controlled. And now you include the development of a SWIFT system replacement that is cheaper, faster, easier to access, and borderless, right? Almost zero barrier to entry. The effect of those sanctions on a country like China now becomes significantly more minimalized. And it has been my opinion and many of us in the community that China's strategy is not to defeat the United States. It is to weaken the United States. And the fastest way to do that is to attack our economic dominance.
Fascinating. Yeah. Which means what? Which means we really should be embracing these technologies, supporting the developers who build on them, supporting the companies that are creating value with them, and giving them legal certainty on what they can and cannot do within the rule of law.
Categorically.
Well, yeah, I mean, just as we've seen AI take off really in the last 18 months and is now creeped into every part of our economy, every part of our supply chain is moving quickly into healthcare. Digital currency and Ethereum, while a few years ago it looked like it was big, then it got pulled back. Now has the potential to move even faster than AI, and of course the magic here is going to be the integration of AI with digital currency, and that's hugely powerful, really because of the efficiency it brings. I mean, if you look at a complex supply chain of anything, a car or whatever, there's thousands of vendors moving parts through. So using Ethereum as a way, and everybody has the same accounting system. Like you make a widget for a car, you have to do all the accounting, then you give it to the next person who starts the accounting all over. Ethereum will really simplify all of that. And just so from a cost perspective, Ethereum makes a lot of sense, right? It's gonna, but now you add AI to say, can I spot the supply chain inefficiencies in automotive that, here's these brake pads over here and here's these parts, and if I can move them over, all stakeholders win. That's huge. So Ethereum plus AI will succeed in the global business community simply because it reduces cost and everybody wins. The issue is that model controlled by China and its partners in the Middle East and Africa, or is that dominated by the United States and the Western Alliance? That is the fundamental crux. But either way, we're going to see the rapid growth of both technologies really in the next 12 months in a way that we've never seen as a large scale economy. And the issue again is is this going to be governed by U.S. laws, or not? So I mean, it's going to be very tense, and I'm sure Dave is going to get even less sleep in the next 12 months than he did in the last 24 hours.
Let me give
So
you
much
guys what I
scotch.
think the three big takeaways are of this, and then I want to ask you guys for your takeaways from this conversation. One is all of us, executive level especially, but really all of us should be tracking the big picture. Keep your head on a swivel, look at all geopolitical regions, look at all technologies, look at all threats, at least to some degree. And I think that's a key takeaway of this because it's all converging and it's all interrelated. The second is if you are a developer or you lead developers or you have technologists on your team, encourage them to develop in and study and get hands-on with both cryptocurrencies and artificial intelligence. And the third really big takeaway for me is we humans need to talk more about this because we can figure out the right approach here. I really think AI is making us all more aware that we humans do better when we're talking and exchanging ideas directly instead of through or with the AI. Those are my takeaways from the conversation. Gents, what do you think?
So one of the things that I would love people to take away is if you're an executive, a good executive knows how to solve the problem in front of them, right? And that has been the paradigm for many years. But a great executive knows how to solve problems nobody else sees. And part of understanding things at a global level is you can't understand the decisions that you can't see past, right? So part of the benefit of these types of conversations and learning from experts in various different areas and then honing it and bringing it into one place is you can now, if you're an expert in your area, you can now learn from that other person. And now you can see, okay, well, our problems are related. These dovetail. So maybe we're not necessarily, maybe you hitting it from one side and me hitting it from the other isn't the solution. Maybe it's a joint operation. So if you want to be an executive for the 21st century with all of the technology and all of the problems that are going to exist that we can't even fathom right now, part of it's going to be you have to put the time in, get a group or an organization together that will leverage your experience, you can leverage theirs, and then bring that information together such that you can be way more effective than you would be alone.
Right. Junaid?
Building on Dave's statements and your thesis that people need to talk, this is more critical than ever. About a year ago, we posted a video blog with Bob Flores on cybersecurity breaches, data exfiltration, which, as you've seen, has increased. And on that video, which I hope people watch again because it's even more relevant today. One of the things we talked about is if you are a Fortune 500 or any large company, take one day a quarter to pull in your staff from sales to manufacturing and review the whole workflow and identify where the risks are from a data exfiltration perspective. Just put the compliance aside and look at that workflow and understand it and discuss it as a team and figure out what needs to be secured, what doesn't, what's in your company, what's outsourced. And the whole notion of what day a quarter, it's not burdensome. It's not a day a month, and it's not once a year, right? And it's kind of a balance. I would say with new technologies like AI and now Ethereum, either as a part of that day or an adjacent day, one day a quarter, if you're a public company, to pull in your executive staff and the board and the people who actually do the work and say, with this new tokenization, does that help us? Are our competitors using it? Look at AI. Are our competitors using AI? What's going on? So I think that's something that is balanced. Again, it's a day a quarter. But companies should be doing that, and certainly if they need help pulling that data together, well, they can call us. But it just makes sense that people look at this very seriously, because just as AI within 12 months has been a material change in business here in the United States, this new Ethereum tokenization will be a material change to anyone with an extended supply chain, guaranteed to happen, because it saves money, right? So, we're an open economy. The more efficient you are, you're going to be more successful. So this is happening no matter what, whether you like it or not.
Well, thanks, Junaid. Thanks, Dave. Till next time.